Hello, friends. This is episode number 5 in our Creepy Cases series. Although many of the cases we cover on the channel have at least some bizarre, strange element to them, these are 5 more hand-picked cases that we feel have the highest creep factor. Join us. Number 5, Marilyn Bergeron. 24-year-old Marilyn Bergeron was once a happy and positive young woman, but in late 2007, her family noticed a troubling change in her. Her outlook had changed from a positive one to a gloomy one, and it was clear that something was bothering her. She was often tearful and told her mother that she didn't have healthy relationships, but did not disclose exactly what the problem was. By early 2008, Marilyn had moved from her apartment in Augustriger, Maisonneuve, back to her parents' house in Quebec, telling them that she no longer felt safe living where she had been. The neighborhood in which Marilyn lived was notorious for criminal activity and was described as an impoverished area with many issues. She had moved there in 2005 and had taken up freelance work with local TV stations and was slowly beginning to pull her career together. But something had changed in recent months, and the events of February 2008 would send her family on a hunt for justice and answers. Between February 15th and 16th, Marilyn made trips between the two places, moving her things and saying goodbye to her friends. Everyone tried to talk to Marilyn, pleading with her to let them know what was wrong. Her family later told investigators that any attempt to talk to Marilyn about her problems would result in her breaking down and shutting down the conversation. She'd even cryptically asked her sister, "Is there a light at the end of the tunnel?" During the move, her family tried to coax more information out of her, but each time she shut them down, showing a blank expression or simply breaking down in tears. It was at this point that her family referred her to a psychologist and hoped that the move back home would provide her with a safe and comfortable place to recover and explore her issues with a medical professional. According to the psychologist that saw Marilyn, her case was big and would require hospitalization. Unfortunately, Marilyn disappeared before any further help or intervention could be offered. Her family were incredibly worried for her well-being and asked her if someone had hurt her or whether she had problems with a relationship, debt, etc. But each time, Marilyn said, "Oh, everything's fine." By February 17, 2008, Marilyn had moved all of her things back into the family home and was resettling herself in a familiar environment. She told her family that she wanted to leave her life in Montreal behind for good, and her family said that they would help her along the way. At around 11 a.m. on February 17, 2008, Marilyn left the family home for what unfortunately would be the last time. She told her mother that she was going for a walk and that she would be back soon. She stepped out of the house wearing only a long black coat with gray fake fur trim and boots and headed off on her walk. The next time that Marilyn would be spotted was on CCTV, and she had an unusual item with her. At 11:09 a.m., Marilyn was seen on CCTV at an ATM on Boulevard de la Lumière, attempting to withdraw $60 Canadian, but the transaction failed. Her family believes that she had simply forgotten her PIN number, but her behavior while at the cash machine raised several alarms. The card that Marilyn attempted to use was a credit card that was linked to her father that she had been given in case of emergency. In the footage, Marilyn is seen looking over her shoulder several times and appears very paranoid. Marilyn's mother also noticed that she was wearing a black backpack over one shoulder, an item that she had not had with her when she left the house. So where had she gotten this strange backpack? And what were her plans? Things only grow more mysterious with the next confirmed sighting of Marilyn, which occurred at 4:03 p.m. in the Café Depot at St. Romuald. Now, going to a coffee shop isn't an out-of-the-ordinary activity, but the fact that this coffee shop was over 12 miles away from her home was rather suspicious. Why was Marilyn in a coffee shop so far away from home when the neighborhoods around her had plenty of coffee shops she could have visited? The barista who served Marilyn in this particular coffee shop was later questioned and confirmed that Marilyn was alone and paid with a credit card. She ordered her coffee and then walked out of the coffee shop, never to be seen again. After this sighting, Marilyn has never been seen or heard from. There's been no activity on her phone or the card, and it's as if she simply dropped off the map. Investigators believe that Marilyn was driven to the coffee shop 12 miles away from her home, as the weather conditions would have made it near impossible for her to walk that far. It is unknown whether the possibility of public transport has ever been explored in this instance. When Marilyn failed to return home, her family knew that something was very wrong and called the police straight away. After learning about Marilyn's situation and the circumstances leading up to her disappearance, the search for her began immediately, with police scouring the area and combing through her bank records and CCTV footage. Unfortunately, the 2 CCTV sightings previously mentioned are the only confirmed sightings of Marilyn. The police have put out numerous appeals for anyone who may have seen Marilyn or may have given her a ride to please come forward. So far, nobody has. There have been several alleged sightings of Marilyn, including sightings in Hawkesbury, Ontario. According to reports, people have seen a woman matching Marilyn's description in Hawkesbury in the company of a man. The two were often known to move around the town, and those who saw her said that she looked anxious and like she was possibly being held captive. Unfortunately, none of these sightings have ever been substantiated, and despite numerous searches by both the police and Marilyn's family, no sign of her has ever been found. Her family are of the opinion that she took her own life, but friends have alluded to something much, much darker. In late 2007, Jonathan Gauthier, who knew Marilyn from college, met up with her and noticed that her personality and behavior had completely changed. She was no longer the happy and lively Marilyn that he once knew. The night that they met up, they had attended a party before heading back to Marilyn's apartment. It was here that she broke down crying. Jonathan rushed to her side to comfort her. He tried to get more information from her and pressed the matter, asking whether she had witnessed something horrific or if something horrific had happened to her. According to Jonathan, Marilyn told him, "No, it's worse. Joe, you can't even imagine what I went through." Sadly, she didn't elaborate any further. The investigation into Marilyn's disappearance has continued over the years, with her family initially posting a $10,000 Canadian reward for information. This amount has now grown to $30,000 Canadian, but we are still no closer to finding out what happened to Marilyn. Her mother told the CBC in 2017, "Marilyn, if you're still alive, for us it's like yesterday you disappeared. We love you. We're waiting for you with open arms, and we miss you so much." Her family believed that Marilyn's life was either in danger or that she perceived to have been in danger in Montreal, and believes that her friends and associates may hold the answers. Marilyn Bergeron was last seen on February 17, 2008, has not been seen or heard from since. Marilyn displayed worrying behavior in the lead-up to her disappearance, and there have been several unconfirmed sightings of her in the Hawkesbury, Ontario area. Marilyn is described as a white female with brown hair, green eyes, 5'7" and 115 pounds. She has a tattoo of Pegasus on her chest, below her right collarbone, and she was last seen wearing boots and a black coat with gray fake fur trim. Anyone with any information is urged to please contact the Quebec Police Services at 418-641-6291. Quote case number 2008-18087. Or you can contact the family's lawyer, Mark Belmer, on 418-681-1227 or toll free 1-800-840-1526. Number 4. Andrew Gosden. The disappearance of 14-year-old Andrew Gosden is one of the UK's most baffling missing person cases. South Yorkshire police have worked tirelessly over the years to find Andrew, but there have been very few leads to work on. Those from the UK will have many strong memories on Andrew's disappearance and the media storm and investigation that followed. It's been over a decade since Andrew disappeared, and the South Yorkshire police are still no closer to cracking this mystifying case. Andrew Gosden lived in Balby, Doncaster, South Yorkshire, with his parents Kevin and Glenys. The two provided Andrew with a happy and stable home life, and as a result, he was flourishing academically. He was in the Young, Gifted and Talented program at school and had a perfect attendance record. It was clear that Andrew was destined for great things academically, and he excelled in every subject at school. With this, Andrew's father Kevin said that he was not streetwise and preferred to stay home and play on his Xbox and listen to metal music. This behavior is not uncommon for teenagers, and his parents were happy that he was flourishing academically and did have a small social circle of friends, good, dependable ones. The lives of the Gden family would be turned upside down one September afternoon, however, shortly after the new school year had started. Andrew had spent part of his summer holiday, which was 6 weeks, attending a gifted and talented program, and was apparently very happy and had a bright outlook for what lay ahead of him after he'd finished school. But September 14th, 2007 was different. Something inside Andrew had changed, and within the space of a few hours, his parents would be thrown into a missing person investigation that has spanned over a decade. On September 14th, 2007, Andrew got up and got ready for school as normal. He said goodbye to his parents and headed out the front door at around 8:05 a.m. By all accounts, this was just another day at school, and Andrew was seen heading toward the bus stop. However, instead of boarding the bus to school, Andrew kept walking and headed into the local park. Nobody knows why Andrew chose to skip school that day, but we do know that he waited in the park until around 8:30 a.m. By this time, his parents would have left for work, and Andrew knew that he would have the house to himself. This is just the beginning of the bizarre details surrounding the disappearance of Andrew Gden, and things only become more mysterious from here. After waiting in the park, as we said, Andrew returned home, took off his school uniform, and put it straight into the washing machine. He changed into a slipknot t-shirt, dark jeans, and packed his bag with his keys, wallet, and his PSP gaming system. Andrew didn't take his PSP charger with him, which indicated that he probably had every intention of coming back. But unfortunately, that is not what happened. As Glennis and Kevin went about their workday, they had no idea that their son was headed to Doncaster train station. Bank records confirmed that Andrew withdrew £200 from his account, leaving about £14 in the balance. Andrew walked into Doncaster train station, went up to the ticket office, and bought a one-way ticket to London. The woman who served Andrew recalled telling him that for just 50p extra, he could get a return ticket, but Andrew declined. He confidently stated that he wanted the one-way ticket, handed over the money, took the ticket, and made his way to the platform. No one knows why Andrew bought a ticket to London, nor why he only bought a one-way ticket. Was Andrew planning to meet with someone in London who had promised to take him back home, or did he plan to stay in London indefinitely? Witnesses reported seeing Andrew boarding the 9:35 a.m. train to London King's Cross Station, and by 11:25 a.m., he was captured on CCTV leaving King's Cross. This is the last confirmed sighting of Andrew, and over a decade later, we are still no closer to the truth. When Andrew's school noticed that he was absent that day, his parents were called. However, a clerical error was made and the wrong number was dialed. It wasn't until Glennis and Kevin arrived home from work to find Andrew's uniform in the house that they knew something was off. After calling out Andrew's name and searching all over the house, his parents realized that he was missing and dialed 999. South Yorkshire police responded to the call immediately, and the search for Andrew commenced. The area of Bobby was searched thoroughly, and investigators began combing through Andrew's life. At the time of his disappearance, Andrew didn't have a phone, as he was known to lose them, and preferred to spend time on his Xbox and listening to music anyway. Flyers, posters, and news reports were circulated around South Yorkshire and Yorkshire, with the South Yorkshire police hoping that somebody would come forward with information. As the days passed and there was no word, the Gostons began to realize that the situation that they were in was incredibly serious. Then, days after Andrew disappeared, the South Yorkshire police got their first lead. The woman who sold Andrew the ticket at Doncaster train station came forward, and from here, the police were able to check CCTV and confirm that Andrew had traveled to King's Cross. Sadly, Andrew was not spotted on CCTV after he left King's Cross Station, and CCTV in the surrounding areas failed to show up anything. Now, there are three main theories in Andrew's case, with the first being that he was lured away by someone online. As we said, Andrew had an Xbox and a PSP, but forensic analysis of these and the data showed that Andrew was not registered online with an account. He reportedly didn't even use the family computer and didn't really touch online communications at all. This was backed up by digital forensic investigations that failed to turn up any online presence from Andrew whatsoever. His family did confirm to investigators that Andrew knew several people who lived in London, but none of these people have reported seeing Andrew on the date of or after his disappearance. The next theory that was well publicized in the British media was that Andrew had possibly gone to London to attend a gig or some sort of music-related event. Andrew loved his metal music, and a few gigs were going on around that time. But if that were the case, then why would he buy a one-way ticket? There were no sightings of Andrew at any of these music events, and there has been no proof to suggest that Andrew had tickets for any of these events either. The last theory is one that Andrew's father, Kevin, came up with. Kevin postulated that perhaps Andrew left to start a new life somewhere without the intervention of his family. His family were religious, but also said that they were open to sexuality and gender expression. This theory ties in with an interesting clue that came to light in 2018. It's important to preface this next section by saying that Andrew's nickname was Rue, and it was a nickname that only those closest to him knew and called him. According to reports, an anonymous witness told the police that in 2018, he had a conversation with someone online by the name of Andy Rue. The two people had started talking, and Andy Rue asked the anonymous witness for £200 so that he could pay his rent. This Andy Rue person went on to explain that he had left home at 14 and didn't have a bank account, so sending money via bank transfer would be difficult. He said that he needed the money because his boyfriend had left him, but never went into further detail about his private life. This lead gave the Metropolitan Police and the South Yorkshire Police a glimmer of hope, but it appears the person calling themselves Andy Rue has never been formally identified, and we cannot confirm whether or not this person is Andrew Gden. Following Andrew's disappearance, his family traveled to London to hand out flyers and to appeal to witnesses and anyone with information to come forward. Kevin and Glynis have been the driving force behind keeping Andrew's name in the media, and they've continued to put pressure on the South Yorkshire Police and the Metropolitan Police to investigate his disappearance. This case has been incredibly well publicized, and in towns and cities across the UK, Andrew's missing person poster can still be seen. The charity UK Missing Persons works with the families of those who are missing to create posters, and they also run a tip line for those with information or for those who are missing and need someone to talk to. Despite all this media attention and investigation, no trace of Andrew has ever been located. After he left King's Cross Station, he seemingly vanished into thin air, and the investigation has laid dormant ever since. Well, that was until January 22, when once again the Andrew Gden case made headlines. On January 11, 2022, the BBC published an article titled, "Andrew Gden, 2 men arrested for trafficking and kidnap." This headline shocked the nation, and the details of the arrest would shock them even more. According to the BBC, 2 men, aged 38 and 45, were arrested in December in London on suspicion of kidnap and human trafficking. The 45-year-old man was also arrested on suspicion of possessing indecent images. The 2 men were released on bail pending a further investigation, and the Metropolitan Police and the South Yorkshire Police are currently working the case. No further details have been released in regards to these charges, and the police are keeping their cards very close to their chests. Throughout the years, several age progression photos have been issued to show what Andrew may look like now as an adult. The River Thames has been searched numerous times by divers and with a sonar scanner, but this has not turned up any leads either. The South Yorkshire Police and the Metropolitan Police, along with Andrew's family, continue to search for him and hope that one day they will have answers or at least closure. Andrew Gden was last seen wearing a Slipknot t-shirt, dark jeans, and was carrying a bag containing his keys, wallet, and PSP gaming system. He had bought a one-way ticket from Doncaster to King's Cross, London, and was last seen leaving King's Cross Station at 11:25 a.m. on September 14, 2007. Andrew has brown hair, has a unique double ridge on his right ear, is deaf in his left ear, and wears strong prescription glasses. Anyone with any information is asked to please contact 101 UK Missing People on 116000, the South Yorkshire Police on 0114-220-2020, the Metropolitan Police on 4420-7230-1212, or Crime Stoppers on 0800-555-111. Number 3, Ben Padilla. The disappearance of Ben Padilla is a confusing and complex case, and it requires a bit of background information to process his disappearance. In 2002, American Airlines retired a Boeing 727-223 with registration N844AA, and this plane was purchased by Maury Joseph, who owned an aerospace company in Florida. Different sources give different stories, but the main gist of the situation is that a businessman came and leased the plane, located in Angola, from Maury, only to default on his payments or abandon the plans that he had for the plane. Apparently, this businessman wanted to use the plane to transport oil to diamond mines across Angola, and this same businessman and Maury Joseph had come to a payment agreement that never came to fruition. This meant that the plane went back into storage and racked up over $4 million in airport fees. The plane with number N844AA was then back in the hands of Maury Joseph, who brought Ben Padilla on board. Ben was a certified aircraft mechanic, flight engineer, and pilot, and he was perfect for the job. The N844AA was 25 years old, and it needed repair work done to it before it was suitable for use. So Ben got to work fixing up the plane, and all was going well. That was until May 25, 2003, when something truly bizarre happened. On this day, the plane was due to fly from Angola to Germany, but as the crew arrived at the airport for their flight, they noticed that the plane had gone. Everyone checked their watches to ensure that they had not made a mistake, but the events that would follow would only confuse them further. Shortly after the crew arrived, air traffic control noticed Boeing 727 N844AA taxiing erratically on the runway. Several attempts were made by air traffic control to establish contact. However, no one responded. All air traffic could do was watch on as the Boeing took off into the skies. The only two men on board were Ben Padilla and a man named John Michael Mutantu, who had been working alongside Ben as an aircraft technician. The plane had not been cleared for takeoff at that time, and had also not submitted a flight plan, which immediately caught the attention of air traffic control. Several more attempts were made to establish contact, but as the plane soared higher into the sky, their attempts proved futile. Now, as the plane was being used for private business, the seats had been ripped out and it was made to carry diesel fuel. Regardless of who or what was on board, air traffic control was on red alert, and soon the word of the rogue plane had spread. This incident, just 2 years shy of 9/11, sent a wave of panic through Angola. Officials tried desperately to track the plane, but found nothing. The plane had been fueled up with over 14,000 gallons of jet fuel, which would only taken the plane about 2,400 miles. Well, as you know, what goes up must come down, but as the days dragged on, there were no reports of a Boeing 727 with ID number N844AA landing at any airport, nor were there any reports of a crash. The plane had seemingly taken off and vanished into thin air, almost if it had flown right into a portal. According to reports, the plane, with its lights off and its transponder not transmitting, N844AA took off over the southwest and headed out over the Atlantic Ocean. So where did Ben Padilla go, and what happened to the 727 that seemingly disappeared into thin air? One theory is that the mysterious disappearance is down to insurance fraud. As previously mentioned, the plane was due to be leased by someone. However, the deal fell through, and the plane ended up procuring millions of dollars in fees the time it was stored at the airport in Angola. Some people are of the opinion that Maury Joseph and Ben Padilla planned the plane's disappearance in order to claim insurance to help pay those fees. Another theory is perhaps the two men were on the plane at the wrong time, and they were forced to fly the plane to wherever the hijacker demanded. The FBI, NSA, and the CIA became involved in the search for Ben and the missing Boeing 727, along with several other countries. But so far, nothing has ever been discovered or recovered. When Ben first took the job, his brother recalled having a conversation with him about hijacking. Ben told his brother that he would rather crash the plane than comply with anyone's demands, and wondered whether Ben was harmed or was being held against his will somewhere. The investigation into Ben's sudden disappearance and the disappearance of the Boeing 727 is still ongoing, but very little evidence has surfaced. Ben Padilla is described as a white male with brown hair, brown eyes, and stands 6 foot 2 inches tall. The Boeing 727-223 has a tail number of N844AA and the serial number 20985. The plane also is an unpainted silver color with a stripe of red, white, and blue. Anyone with information about Ben or the plane is asked to contact the FBI at 202-324-3000. Number 2, Melanie Eer. September 28, 2022 will mark the 26th anniversary of the disappearance of 15-year-old Melanie Nadia Eer from her home in New Liskeard, Ontario. Born on Christmas Day in 1980, Melanie was a great joy in her mother's life and to all those who knew her. Melanie, her 5-year-old sister Jessie, and her mother Celine had lived in the New Liskeard area for almost 9 years, and those in the community knew Melanie well. Melanie was known for her vibrant personality and the fact that she was an honors student at the École Secondary Catholic School. Melanie had dreams of becoming a teacher after she graduated from high school, and in between completing homework, Melanie worked at a daycare that was attached to her school. This job provided Melanie with some independence and gave her valuable skills to take into her future teaching career. Unfortunately, this bright and promising young woman was taken and never got to live out her dream of being a teacher. September 28, 1996 was the day that the lives of the Eer family would change forever. On that morning, Melanie headed towards the local library after visiting a family friend and bumped into one of her friends. The two girls decided to spend the day together, and they went into the city to do a bit of shopping and relax. According to this friend, Melanie bought a cake tin and cake-making supplies that she could make a birthday cake for her grandmother. Melanie seemed excited about the trip, and the two girls enjoyed themselves. As the day wore on, the girls made plans to meet up with Melanie's boyfriend, Neil Fortier, and 3 other friends, Dave Bromley, Jay Denault, and Ryan Chatwin. The group of teenagers hung out and planned what they wanted to do together for the rest of the day and evening. September 28, 1996 was a Saturday, so the youngsters wanted to make the most of not having to go to bed early, so the group headed to a video store and rented a copy of the film Sudden Death. The original plan was to head to Melanie's house. However, as Melanie's grandparents were staying over, the house was already a hub of activity. Melanie's room was a mess, and there was no place for the teens to kick back and relax. This didn't bother them, though, and they merely decided to head to another home, eventually settling on the home of Ryan Chatwin on Pine Avenue. After wandering around calling in at their friends' homes, hoping to get a quiet room, the teens were relieved to find that Ryan's parents were upstairs, leaving them with free reign of the house. They settled in to watch the film and just to chat and enjoy each other's company. The hours ticked by, and slowly, one by one, the teens left and headed home. Melanie was one of the last to leave Ryan Chatwin's house, unaware of what her best friend had just encountered outside. That best friend would later tell investigators that when she left Ryan's house at 12:30 a.m., she saw a light-covered Chevrolet Monte Carlo, or a similar car, crawling slowly down the street. The driver of the car paid special attention to her as she walked to the place where she's being picked up, and she said that the driver scared her so much that she took off running. Between 1:30 and 2 a.m., Melanie left Ryan's house, and this would be the last time she was ever seen or heard from. Those left over at Ryan's house watched as Melanie walked down Pine Avenue and into the darkness. Her home was only about a half-mile away, but unfortunately, Melanie never completed the journey. Her disappearance wasn't noted until much later that morning, when the Eer household awoke to find no sign of Melanie. Celine, her mother, checked with Melanie's friends, hoping that she had stayed the night and just forgotten to call, but her heart sank when her friends said that she wasn't there and had left about 2 a.m. Celine rushed to the daycare where Melanie worked, and she wasn't there either. And that was the moment she knew it was serious. She picked up the phone and called the police. The New Liskeard police, along with the Ontario Provincial Police, began their search for Melanie and began knocking on doors of homes and businesses in the community. Melanie's personal life was looked at, and those who were with her on the night she disappeared were also questioned. Investigators were very interested in the account given by Melanie's best friend and believe that Melanie may have either been targeted or may have been mistakenly targeted, as her attackers may have believed she was someone else. Helicopters, scent dogs, and search and rescue personnel combed through New Liskeard looking for any sign of Melanie, but nothing could be found. It was as if she had simply vanished. There were a few reports of a girl matching Melanie's description walking on the Armstrong Street Bridge across the Wabi River. The Wabi River has been searched by dive teams, but nothing was ever found. Multiple searches were conducted, but so far, the police have yet to find any evidence of what happened to Melanie. Her mother, Celine, made a post to the Let's Work Together to Find Melanie Eer Facebook group in November 2020. Here's part of that post. For many years, I've felt that Melanie is no longer alive, and I know that finding the truth about her disappearance will not change that. I'm not driven by justice, anger, or vengeance. I'm a mother searching for a missing child so that I can give her the dignified memorial she deserves and enable my family to finally grieve, find closure, and heal. You may not be able to bring Melanie back to life, but by providing the police with the information needed to bring back her body, you can help me and my family begin to rebuild ours. Also in the Facebook group, Celine and others have made numerous posts about Dennis Levier, who is a family friend. 3 days after Melanie's disappearance, Dennis made a chilling statement to Celine's mother, who had been staying at the home for birthday celebrations. According to the grandmother, which is Celine's mother, Dennis came round to the house and was smoking a cigarette in the basement, which was extremely out of character and something that Celine wouldn't have allowed. Then, as Dennis smoked his cigarette, he chillingly told the grandmother that the person responsible had to have been very strong. As previously mentioned, Melanie had taken self-defense classes and she also loved ballet and other sports, so she was in good shape and strong for her age. That wasn't the only chilling thing that Dennis said, though. He rolled up his sleeves and showed the grandmother fresh, deep nail marks on his arm. This discovery sent chills through the Eer family, but Dennis played it off and told Celine and the family that Melanie had done that to him while they were play fighting in the days before she disappeared. Nobody in the Eer family believed Dennis's version of events, and it later transpired that Dennis was known to try and inappropriately talk to and engage with minors. The scope of Melanie's case deserves a video of its own, and many theories come up in this case. Unfortunately, Dennis passed away in 2016, taking any secrets he had with him to the grave. Many people have come forward claiming that Dennis had admitted to them that he had harmed Melanie, but these claims could never be substantiated. Celine believes that Dennis is the most likely suspect in Melanie's disappearance, and while Dennis has now passed away, she believes that someone out there has the right information to bring the right person to justice for what they did to Melanie. There are many ins and outs in this case, and Celine has been the driving force behind keeping her daughter's name in the media. She's created numerous posters, billboards, and social media accounts to help keep her daughter's memory alive and to help bring her home. Melanie Eer was last seen on September 28, 1996, on Pine Avenue in New Liskeard, Ontario. She is described as a black female with long braided black hair, brown eyes, standing 5'5" and weighing 120 pounds. She was last seen wearing a green Nike jacket, blue jeans, a white t-shirt with a blue heart Pepe logo, and black boots. Anyone with information is asked to please contact any of the following: Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477, the Liskeard Police Service at 7005-647-4388, the Ontario Provincial Police at 1-888-310-1122, or you can send an anonymous letter to Celine Eer at Box 2055, New Liskeard, Ontario, POJ 1PO. Number 1, August Rieger. 18-year-old August Rieger had recently graduated from the Classen School of Advanced Studies and was even awarded the honor of being that year's valedictorian. For August, life was just beginning and the world was truly his oyster, and he had earned himself a full scholarship at the University of Oklahoma. Unfortunately, that summer was snatched away right from under the nose of August's family, and almost a decade later on, his case remains unsolved. On June 16, 2013, August and his family took the trip of a lifetime to Ecuador to celebrate his graduation. According to his parents, Chris and Randa, August had asked for a holiday to a Spanish-speaking country, as he wanted to practice his Spanish. His parents would later tell news outlets that this was just the kind of person August is, always wanting to learn and improve himself. The family packed up their things and headed to Ecuador, not knowing the horrors that awaited them. The family was staying in Banos, central Ecuador, and were counting down the days until their dream tour came around. The family had booked on to a 3-day tour of the Amazon jungle, something August was especially looking forward to. With time to spare, Chris, Randa, August, and his siblings decided to take a hike on a trail close to their hotel. This would give them a chance to experience the natural beauty that Ecuador has to offer while still being close to civilization. Unfortunately, despite being close to their hotel and other populated areas, the unthinkable happened. As the family went along the trail, August sped ahead and told them that he would wait for them at the top. The rest of the family followed behind, expecting to see August smiling and waiting for them, but he was nowhere to be found. His family looked around for him, but saw nothing. They decided to head back to the hotel, thinking that August had possibly gone there, maybe taking another route down, but as they reached their room, there was still no sign of August. The Rieger family waited, hoping that August would return. Hours later, when that didn't transpire, they reported their son missing to the Ecuadorian authorities, and 24 hours after he was last seen, a search party was established to find the missing teen. The governor's office of the province where the Riegers were staying made a statement in the wake of August's disappearance, reassuring the media and U.S. citizens watching the story closely that all efforts were being made to find the young man. Part of the statement read, "A special team of local authorities, including members of the armed forces, police, fire department, and some volunteers, were deployed in order to find Mr. Rieger." Hours slowly turned into days, and there was still no word from August. His family waited patiently for any updates or leads as to their son's whereabouts. August's missing persons poster was distributed across Ecuador, and locals kept a close eye out for him. 10 days later, a bizarre sighting was reported to the Ecuadorian authorities. According to an ABC News article written on June 26, 2013, there had been a possible sighting of August. The article goes on to say, a high school valedictorian from Oklahoma, who has been missing for more than a week in Ecuador, might have been spotted on the back of a truck headed toward the Amazon rainforest, the family told ABC News. This wouldn't be the only sighting of August, though, and as the months passed, more sightings would be called into the authorities. Christy Rieger, August's aunt, spoke to KOCO5 News in 2014, telling the station that authorities had received several credible sightings of August over the last few weeks, and that the family held out hope that August was still out there unharmed. This sentiment was also echoed on the Facebook page Find August Rieger, which is run by his family. On May 7, 2014, a post was made to the Facebook page reading, "We are excited to report that there have been a few recent sightings of August. We are grateful for the Ecuadorian citizens who are helping out of the goodness of their hearts. We will bring him home." Underneath this post, a comment was also added by the page that reads, "No more info for now. The investigation is obviously active and on the move. Sharing too much could compromise that." Since then, the Ecuadorian authorities and August's family have continued to look for him, and his family have praised the authorities and the people of Ecuador. Posters with August's face were widely distributed, and it's a case that many Ecuadorians will not forget. Years have passed since August vanished, and his family still holds out hope that he is alive somewhere. No ransom demands have ever been made, and the authorities cannot figure out why anyone would have wanted to kidnap August. There's also the theory that August fell over the edge while on the hike, but his remains have never been recovered to support this theory. August's family runs the Find Augustriger Facebook page, along with making media appearances to keep his story in the public eye. Augustriger was last seen on June 16, 2013, in the mountains of Banos in Ecuador. Photos showing possible alterations in August's appearance are available via the Facebook page. Alternatively, you can contact your nearest U.S. Embassy or consulate office. Well, folks, there you have it. What do you think of these strange and creepy disappearances? I look forward to hearing your comments. Please keep it friendly and respectful. Meanwhile, be good to yourselves and each other. Stay safe out there. As for me, I'll see you a little farther on down the trail. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time.